Yeah, I'm live. Don't know. Okay. Okay, I think we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday, the 27th of November. I'm Farzana from SF Digital, and I'm so pleased to be back here with you presenting my few slides on planning for 2021. For those of you that are new to our platform and our presentations, please do feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat on YouTube, where I can keep an eye on things. It would be helpful if someone can just put in a yes, just so that I know that everything is streaming okay. But otherwise, please just use that for any other additional comments. For those of you that have been with us before, thank you so much for giving up your precious time and being with me again this afternoon. And I really do appreciate you being here, and I hope that you find today's presentation useful. So, planning for 2021. Before I go into that slide, I just wanted to check in with everyone to see, did anyone actually do last week's homework? Which I had said, what changes one change are you going to make that will hopefully help you improve your mindset and go towards a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, which is the topic of last week, which was really focusing around how we can expand our learning to help us accept what is happening and how we can deal with those challenges that we face, and through that grow ourselves and grow our business. So I hope that some people did take me up on that homework challenge and have a little play with that. I personally had no use talking about these things if I don't actually put into practice myself. I had made a conscious effort that if I make a commitment to something that is for my personal improvement, I'm going to make it a non-negotiable and make sure it happens. Just like you, I am really, really busy running around doing lots of different things. Sometimes it's late nights, sometimes it's early mornings, trying to fit everything I need to into my working day. And if I can share with you, probably the thing I sometimes am guilty of is not doing what I need to do for my own self-care. And middle of this week, when was it? Yesterday evening, there was something I had committed to in my diary, 8 o'clock in the evening, which was about my self-care. And it would have been so easy as 8 o'clock was approaching to have said, oh, you know what, I'm too busy, I'm not going to do that. And instead, I got everything done, told the family, do not disturb me for the next hour, there's something I'm doing. And that was it, all done. And I managed to honour the commitment I made to myself. So that was the small change I made, which helped me to focus and function today, recharged from the activities that I did last night. So I'd love to hear if anybody did actually manage to achieve anything, and hopefully build on those. So last week, as I said, I was talking about managing your mindset, and one of my particular slides was actually around surrounding yourself with positivity and people that support you, have your back, you know, that you can count on. And this morning, as I got up, this is a screenshot from my WhatsApp, a client had come up on my feed, and I thought, oh right, I better check in and just see what they're up to. Is there a problem on something, or is there an issue on a job that we're working on a project? And this was the lovely message I woke up to. It was really humbling, because actually I'm just doing what I always do. I'm doing my work, and I'd like to think I do it conscientiously and thoroughly and give my best to the work that I do. But seeing this at 7 o'clock in the morning, I've got to say, on this very dreary, wet, windy, kind of a cold day that we've got in England, has really cheered me up and kept me so positive, and knowing that my efforts are rewarded and that people are appreciating my work. So thank you to that client who posted that this morning, because it really has set me up and just increased my positivity even more, knowing that that's the kind of response I'm getting. So let's get on to planning for 2021. Now, I've just put some bullets up. This is not marketing speak. This is not come out some business manual. These are my thoughts on what I think planning is really all about. I think a lot of us can be guilty of, especially at this time of year, thinking that planning is almost like an annual event. Christmas is coming, I'm going to sort everything out, I'm going to sit and look at all of this in those quiet days in January. We sometimes forget that if we only start thinking about what we think we're going to do for the coming year in the January, well, if you were to divvy up your year into 12, obviously, months, you've probably lost almost 10% of your year, of your potential activity, by the time you're halfway through January, while you're still thinking about doing all your activity. And so actually, planning shouldn't really be thought of as this one stop where you're going to sit and plan and do everything in one hard hit. By now, we should already be thinking about what are the things we want to reshape, how we're going to actually look at that year, and how we're going to focus on what's really important to us as in a business sense. That's obviously what this topic is about, but sometimes it is actually about reflecting about all the pieces in your life and how you're actually going to make them all work and fit together. And like I just touched on, what are the non-negotiables, the things you really want to focus on, and what are the things that you want to be aware of consciously, but perhaps not give them quite so much attention. So again, the second bullet that I've put down here is it's not a binary decision. By that, what I mean is planning does not have to be black and white. It does not have to be a definitive yes or a definitive no. There are many grey areas in between. And actually, the secret to making your plans work is also having flexibility in your planning. So a little like last week's topic when I was talking about the growth mindset, this is where it ties in. Last week's topic ties in with this week, because actually that flexibility, the willingness to expand your sphere and tackle whatever issues may be coming your way, this is where you can also apply those principles to when you come to planning in your business. And also the big thing for me is that planning allows you to work in a proactive way. I personally find it really, really hard if I'm always expected to be reactive. It's disruptive to your brain processes, it's interrupting your flow, and it just means that you cannot get into the mindset you need to actually work in an effective way. If we're good at what we're doing, planning for the next year is actually no different to what we should already be doing now. We plan for the following month, or we should be. We are planning for the coming week. We're planning for the coming day. I personally like to make my list for the next day the night before, so that I know in a real sense what are the activities that need to happen the next day. I don't wait until the morning, because that's again another 20 minutes, half an hour gone. It's ready, it's done. It means that when I go to bed last thing at night, the brain is already decluttered from the day's activities. I've had a chance to reground myself and be focused again with a clear mind. What are the activities that need to happen? And that for me is a proactive way of dealing with my day-to-day activities. Of course, today has been no different. There will be things that come along in the day that have to be factored in and do have to be dealt with in a reactive, firefighting way. But actually, if you've managed to pin down your plans, the things that you definitely want to achieve, it means that you, on the hoof, can adjust your day and accommodate certain things. So, for example, Zé, my husband, he decided we were going to have a meeting about something very important 3 o'clock this afternoon, just an hour before we went live. And I had to pause for a moment and think, okay, let me just have a moment. Let me just think, will that fit in? Yes, okay, I've managed to repark some of the things that I was doing earlier in the day, just reshunted them a little bit and managed to squeeze out that extra, a little bit of time for that important meeting that I needed to have at 3 o'clock. Now, just something I read earlier this week that made me smile and certainly is true. And that was something I read on a thread called Parkinson's Law, which is basically that if you give something a task, let's say you say you're going to give it 2 hours to get something done, It's funny how it will take 2 hours. The activity we do seems to somehow miraculously expand into the time that we've given it. So actually, there's probably a little lesson in there that, yes, you want to be realistic in the time that you give to something, but also remember that sometimes we just get a little bit slack because we've given something so much time. You can actually squeeze a little bit more out of each of your hours, your day, your productivity, and that's something also to consider when you are doing your planning. So, move on to the next slide. Obstacles and challenges. Now, we touched on this last week when obviously how you deal with challenges, obstacles, criticisms, what else we've got, effort, measuring other people's success. These are all things that actually affect our mindset. But actually, if we have a growth mindset, we will find that actually, even in the worst times, in the middle of any difficulty, there is probably an opportunity, should you wish to see it, acknowledge it, and act on it. So I had a phone conversation with a lady yesterday. It was about something completely unrelated, but I know that she's in business, and I asked her, how are things going and how have you been faring and how are things going to change for you? In the UK here, we have all been in a lockdown, which is changing next week, but we are still under considerable restrictions and measures. To be honest, it's not hugely different to what we are in at the moment, which is a full lockdown. And she has a bridal business, and she said, oh, it's been horrendous. Obviously weddings are not happening. Brides don't want to spend the same kind of money on their wedding dresses at the moment. And even if they came in for a bridal fitting, it's difficult because I don't know what all the measures are. We can't have more than 1 or 2 people in the room at the same time. So the bride can't bring someone along to give her advice. And in my mind, I thought, okay, I'll ask the question. I said, so do you have 2 rooms? And the lady paused for a moment and said, well, yes, but what's that got to do with anything? I said, well, to be honest, there's nothing stopping you setting up your bride and her family member in 2 separate rooms. She puts on the dress, she does the trials, but you could still be using Zoom or something similar to have that off of a device so that the guests can still feel it as part of that day and still be part of that process. So you'll be using that space, but being COVID safe. I said, I don't know, but it's certainly worth exploring. At least you'll be able to continue your business. I said, you're right, actually, there is probably something there. Now, that was just me thinking on the hoof, a solution for her business issue, her challenge. And this is what I mean, that there is always an opportunity, should you wish to see it and explore what you can and cannot do. Obviously, I would, at this moment in time, never advocate anything that is other than 100% COVID safe. But we are in business, and if we can find some way of using technology to make our businesses work right now, we can still do this. And I have had, since March, so many conversations with people, very humbling when some of them have come back and said, thanks to you, we have changed how we're working, and we are now, our business has grown even more than we could ever have thought of, but not in a way that we had thought of. It was not even on our radar, and you have helped us to do that. So a little story there of a conversation from yesterday. So back to planning. Where do you actually want to be in your business this time next year? And let's not forget that sometimes how we get to that point is almost as important, maybe more important than the actual destination. We only have to look at this year to know that where we want to be in our coming year, however, whatever our time frame is, has been completely turned on its head. We at SF Digital are no different. Where we thought we would be this time last year, we could not have imagined. But we could have gone 2 ways. We could have said, well, this is just beyond us. We can't possibly function like this. We are going to just have to stagnate, plateau out, not worry about, turnover, just worry about survival. Or we can take where we are, and through reassessing where we are with our plans, let's see where our plans can be reshaped slightly, just remolded a little bit to actually help us grow. And that is what we have chosen to do. It's been a conscious decision to fast track probably the next 5 years of growth, we have managed to reassess and realign into our business for the few months that have just gone by. And so for us personally, I'm really, really excited for our business, for SF Digital. I think this time next year, the plans are already afoot, but these are really exciting times ahead because we've chosen to view it in that way and reframe what has been a huge challenge for us, just like every other business. But we've chosen to reframe it in a positive way and start to see how we can build our business and not just survive, but actually thrive. And this is why I say the journey is just as important as the destination. This year, if we chose to, the number of hours Azar and I have both put into our business, like I say, extremely late nights, sometimes many nights in a row. This week, I've managed to get away with only 2 a.m. finish, but sometimes I choose to start at 5:30, 6 o'clock to squeeze things out of my day. That's probably not something I would have regularly done pre-COVID, but now it's become important. But I don't have any hard feelings towards that. In fact, in spite of the hard work that it is, it still inspires me to carry on, seeing the rewards like the comment this that I shared with you earlier on from the WhatsApp thread, because I know that we are doing our work with authenticity, sincerity, genuine feeling to want people to succeed in their businesses. We view their spend with us as if it was our money. It's important to us that it's not just a transaction. These are people's lives and livelihoods, and we want them to succeed. And through their success, we succeed. So it's really important that actually the journey is a pleasurable experience for everyone. Work is always hard. Nobody says that work is easy, but let's at least have some fun along the way. So what steps do you need to actually turn your dream into reality? And what are the limitations that you may have on how you can actually build your plan and actually succeed? By that, this could actually mean a number of things, and sometimes we probably don't focus on these a huge amount. We're too busy working out the practicalities of a calendar in terms of planning for the next year. But actually, sometimes we do need to revisit a step back, and these are topics such as mindset, effort, your staffing levels. Have you got the right people in place? Training so that your teams can work effectively, or it could also be your own training. Are you looking after your personal development? And systems, something I go on about a huge amount, and I will be touching on the next slide. Now, just to go through this again, mindset, I've just touched on it a moment ago, talking about positivity and keeping your own resilience really, really high. It's really important that you look after your self-care, because actually if you don't do these things and look after yourself, you're actually no use to anyone. And so it's important that you actually make it something that is set in your diary, whatever it may be. He doesn't necessarily get the things I do that are important to me, that help me. Perhaps I don't necessarily get the importance of watching cricket all day long, but whatever it is that makes you tick, that is important to you, gives you that pleasure in the day, do it. It doesn't matter who it may be that doesn't get it. If you get it, that's your thing, do it. I touched on effort just now. For me, it's no use just making a plan. If you're not prepared to put in the hard work and the effort to make those plans come into reality, then you've got no one to blame but yourself. So actually you do need to take some ownership and responsibility towards the commitments that you have made to make them actually happen. Staffing. This is something that has, for us in SF Digital, hugely changed since March. We had our teams in place, certain individuals who then had their teams in place, where we were all feeding in our projects and everything's ticking along quite nicely. But then we've, as I said, consciously chosen to embrace what is happening and think, okay, these are the weaknesses in our team, if we can call that. You do need to recognize where the holes are. A chain is only as strong as the weakest link. That link goes, everything else falls apart, no matter how strong it may appear. And so that's why looking at our staffing, looking at the skill sets that they have, sometimes exploring the realms of what else could you be doing, and then putting the best people in the right place for that task. That is really, really important. But of course, linked to that is training. So again, those of you that have been with us over recent weeks and months will know that we have taken our project management software that we use, which is Asana, to the next level. It wasn't enough to just use that as a glorified list. We needed to make sure that it wasn't just us able to use Asana, our team need to be able to use it. And we're also now taking it up the next level of training, where we will be introducing an integration to Slack so that we can all communicate effectively, rather than what happens at the moment where we are communicating through 2 or 3 different channels. We are actually going to integrate and streamline a little bit further. In the not just in the hope, in the reality of knowing that by fully integrating and systemizing our training and our staffing, we are actually going to increase productivity. So we know that that is going to work. And then finally, we come to systems, which is something I'm going to focus on a little bit longer. So systems, why are they so important? This actually hinges a lot on to do with planning. And my husband always laughs because I refer to Anna, our lovely ironing lady, as my analogy, only because it makes it so much easier to understand. So Anna is now, because of COVID, she collects the ironing and then she returns it the next day. But the first 2-3 times that she did this, she would say to me, Farzana, you really don't need to separate everything out and sort it all out for me. You know, I can manage. I said, yes, but having one system, which is the bag, which is for the folded things, and the other system, which is the bag, which is for the hanger things, and giving you the right hangers for the right clothes, because different people in our family, we've got different hangers, different sizes, all of that. I'm not only helping her with that system, I'm actually being a little selfish. I'm helping myself, because when it all comes back, it's all in order, and that takes me literally 5 minutes to put away. But if I've got to sort everything out when she brings it back, that's going to take me much longer. So I'm probably 2 ironed items away from being slightly OCD, but I joke, I don't have OCD. It's about good systems which increase your efficiency and help your productivity. And on a more business note now, forget the ironing, for us, using something like Asana means that we can be very, very efficient, and when we have to change our system, we can be very, very reactive. Part of having good systems is also about having great communication, which again, something I've just touched on. So for example, we have a content team meeting every day at 10 a.m. It's literally 10 minutes. But because the systems are in place, it makes the communication so much easier. Now, just yesterday, within our system and within our process for video marketing, as it happens, we needed to change something quite drastically. We needed to change what we were doing with our particular video sequence and change it quite drastically to what we are currently doing to a new system. But within probably 2 hours of yesterday afternoon, system has been changed. This morning, everyone has been updated. What has changed? And they're all on the program. They all get it. They all know what they're doing. By Monday, the delivery will have changed to the new system. And that's why those systems are so, so important. So if you haven't got your systems in place, part of your planning for next year, now that we should have got over the initial shock of having to react to how COVID has affected our businesses, really should be your time now to sort out your systems. And finally, just to summarize, for me, I think great systems is what actually helps you to increase your productivity. And this is what ultimately allows you to scale your business and then to grow your business. So sometimes as a business, we can't just stop because we're putting systems in place. The work still has to happen. Bills still need to be paid. That's probably our income. So you do have to go through that effort that I've talked about already, and sometimes the little bit of pain and discomfort to actually put your systems in place, but simultaneously still be working as well. And so there can be that process, but know that once you've got those systems in place, you have to go through that once. Then you will help yourself because you'll be increasing your efficiency and productivity. And that then allows you to plan further to make your business grow. So I hope that's been useful to you, just to get you thinking a little bit more about planning rather than the nuts and bolts of planning. I want to give you that big overall view of what planning should mean for you, or certainly what it means for me. I think I've got a few comments and bits and bobs here, so I'm just going to go into my chat. Bear with me while I just scan through some of these. Okay. Thank you, Sandy. Good to see that you made that small change and read an interesting book. I hope you got some value out of that. And a new business. Okay, and Sandy Entertainments again. I totally get it, Sandy, what you're saying about, you know, you planned for 2020 and then it's completely changed. Well, actually, again, a conversation I had earlier in this week. When we do these sort of big annual reviews for the coming year, this year was no different to any other year. For some of us, every year we sit and make a plan for the coming year. But I doubt for anybody, 99% of us, that year that actually just does happen, there's no resemblance to the one we planned for. So don't be disheartened that this year it's been a little extreme, but we are no more certain any other year. It's just that we frame it differently. So just reframe where you are this year and take those opportunities, like I say, within this year, and think how you're going to apply those to your business. Thank you, Hernan, for joining us. I appreciate that English is not your first language. This video will be transcribed as well, not immediately, because we do a very thorough transcription afterwards. So if in the future you want to get back in touch with us, we can point you back in the direction of the correct video if you want to. For the moment, yes, this live will be reparked, so you'll be able to watch it back in the thread. And Hernan, you're also asking about pricing strategies and PPC, etc. Yes, there are lots and lots of different videos on our channel. Again, you'll be able to see all of those. You can either see them in the live section, and of course we have some regular videos as well. I think there's well over 500 videos on there, so I'm sure, I know for a fact there are things on pricing. However, if your question is what should the pricing strategy be for X, that is a little bit more complex, and that is really dependent on the campaign that you're setting up, the area that you're working in, what the niche is. There are so many more questions. But as a generic overall view of how you can work these things out, of course, you will find those videos there. And I think that's probably everything. And there is a lengthy one here from Sandy about product launch, brand awareness, scaling business, forming teams, increasing public relationships. A lot there, Sandy. You can do it. If we can do it, you can do it. You're absolutely right. You do need to look at all these things to get your business consolidated and know the direction you're going in. But another final piece of advice is, you know, don't be overwhelmed by everything. Take one step, as I've just put on the slide here. You know, a plan is only a plan until you actually take the first steps and actually start something. Just waiting will not make that plan happen. All that will happen is that we're going to get very old waiting for something to happen. So take those first steps, and you can always add as you go along. So there's nothing stopping you to say, well, I can't possibly do the 7 or 8 things that you've mentioned on that list. Pick 3 or 4 core activities. You can always add the others later. There are things that are essential that you have to have, but then there are some things that are nice to have, and those can be your things that you can add on as you go along. So like I say, I hope that's been useful for you, and it's been a pleasure to be here again. Thank you once again for joining me and allowing me to take up your precious time. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a good weekend, and that this presentation has given you some food for thought and got you thinking. We're not in December yet, so there is nothing stopping us thinking already from what we need to be thinking about for our future. Let that thought process start now. And if there's anything at all that myself or Azair can help you with, of course, very happy to help at any time. Please do reach out to us. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Thank you.